The massive ships appeared without warning, materializing above Earth's major cities like obsidian mountains suspended in the sky. Their surfaces rippled with iridescent patterns, resembling the shells of deep-sea creatures scaled up to impossible proportions. Humanity's first contact with an advanced alien civilization had arrived, and it wasn't friendly. Admiral Josephine Wei, age 82, was enjoying her morning tea in her Shanghai apartment when the emergency call came through. Her weathered hands barely trembled as she set down her porcelain cup, the same steady grip that had guided starships through the asteroid belt decades ago, now needed for perhaps humanity's most crucial mission. "They're calling for the Elder Council," her A assistant announced. "All former military and diplomatic leaders over 75. The Nexarians. They're refusing to speak with anyone younger." Josephine stood at her window, watching the enormous vessel hovering above the city. The alien ship's presence seemed to distort the very air around it, creating a perpetual twilight despite the morning sun. "Send my acceptance," she replied. "And contact Director Rashid and Ambassador Petrov. We'll need the old guard for this one." Within hours, a hastily assembled council of Earth's eldest leaders gathered in the United Nations emergency chamber. Josephine looked around the room at faces she hadn't seen in years. Ibrahim Rashid, 89, former director of the Global Space Initiative. Mikhail Petrov, 85, Earth's most accomplished diplomatic negotiator. And dozens more veterans of humanity's first steps into space. The holographic display at the center of the chamber crackled to life, revealing their first glimpse of the Nexarian queen. Her form was both beautiful and terrifying, a towering figure with crystalline features and eyes that seemed to contain galaxies. When she spoke, her words were translated through advanced AI systems. "Your species is young," the queen declared, her voice resonating with ancient power. "You spread through space like bacteria, claiming worlds that are not yours to take. We have come to end this expansion." Josephine stepped forward, her voice clear and unwavering. "Your Majesty, I am Admiral Wei. Like you, I have seen many cycles of my world. Perhaps we might share our experiences before any irreversible decisions are made." The Queen's crystalline features shifted, revealing what might have been surprise. "You are not like the others we have observed. There is, wait to your words, time has marked you." "Yes," Josephine replied. "On Earth, we believe that wisdom comes with age. Those of us gathered here have spent decades studying the stars, learning from our mistakes, and understanding the delicate balance of existence." Ibrahim Rashid joined her, his walking cane tapping softly against the floor. "We remember when our own world was nearly destroyed by hasty actions and pride. We learned the hard way that expansion without understanding leads to destruction." The Queen's form shimmered, her attention clearly caught by these elderly humans who spoke with such measured wisdom. "In our culture, too, the eldest hold the deepest understanding. Perhaps we have judged too quickly." "Then let us talk," Mikhail Petrov suggested, his accent thick but words precise. "Not as conqueror and conquered, but as one group of elders to another. Surely there is room enough in this vast universe for both our peoples to thrive." As the first day of negotiations drew to a close, the tension in Earth's atmosphere had shifted. The Nexarian ships still loomed overhead, but their threatening presence had somehow softened. Josephine returned to her apartment, knowing this was just the beginning. Tomorrow would bring more challenges, more delicate discussions, more chances to either save or doom humanity. She picked up her teacup from that morning, now cold and untouched. As she prepared a fresh pot, she smiled slightly. Perhaps there was something poetic about the fate of humanity resting not in the hands of its youngest and brightest, but in the weathered palms of those who had seen enough of life to know the true value of peace. The morning after first contact, the human delegation gathered in a hastily retrofitted conference chamber beneath Geneva. The room's ancient stone walls had been upgraded with state-of-the-art holographic technology, creating an environment that bridged Earth's past and future, much like the elderly diplomats themselves. Josephine Way studied the faces around the circular table. Regina Okoro, 78, former head of the African Space Coalition, was reviewing data on a holographic display. Thomas O'Sullivan, 85, who had brokered peace during the resource wars, sat quietly with his eyes closed, deep in thought. Each person in the room carried decades of experience navigating humanity's most delicate moments. "The Nexarian Queen has agreed to a formal council," Ibrahim announced, his voice carrying despite his age. "They're sending their own group of elders, what they call the Eternal Circle. But there's a catch." "There always is," Michael muttered, adjusting his antique glasses. "They want to meet in person, not through holograms," Ibrahim continued, "on their ship." The room erupted in murmured discussions. Meeting on the alien vessel would put them at a tactical disadvantage, but refusing could be seen as a sign of distrust. Regina raised her hand, silencing the room with the authority of someone used to commanding attention. "We've spent our lives taking calculated risks," she said. "If we want peace, we must show trust to receive it." The delegation's ascent to the Nexarian vessel was a ceremony in itself. The transport beam enveloped them in shimmering light, and when their vision cleared, they found themselves in a chamber that defied earthly architecture. The walls seemed alive, pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that responded to their presence. The Eternal Circle awaited them, 7 Nexarian elders, their crystalline forms dulled with age, but radiating an inner light that spoke of accumulated wisdom. The Queen sat among them, no longer projecting the intimidating presence from the day before, but appearing more as a peer among equals. "Welcome, Earth's wise ones," the Queen spoke, her translated words carrying a new warmth. "We have existed for millennia, watching younger races rise and fall. Few have given us pause, until now." Josephine stepped forward, her diplomatic training melding with genuine curiosity. "We are honored to be here, Your Majesty. Perhaps we might begin by sharing stories of our people's journeys among the stars." What followed was unlike any diplomatic meeting in human history. The elders of both species began to share not just official histories, but personal memories. Regina spoke of watching the first African Mars colony launch from her hometown. Thomas recalled mediating between warring nations as resources grew scarce, finding common ground in humanity's shared dream of the stars. The Nexarians, in turn, revealed their own struggles. Through their stories, a pattern emerged. Both species had faced moments where aggression and fear nearly led to their own destruction. Both had learned the hard way that wisdom must temper ambition. "Your young ones remind us of ourselves," one Nexarian elder admitted, their form shifting with what seemed like nostalgia. "The same fire, the same hunger to explore. We saw it as a threat, perhaps because we have forgotten our own youth." As the day progressed, the formal diplomatic structure began to dissolve. The human elders found themselves drawn into genuine conversations about art, philosophy, and the nature of existence itself. Michael and a Nexarian elder discovered they shared a passion for what humans would call poetry, though the aliens' version involved manipulating light patterns in complex rhythms. But beneath the growing warmth, serious concerns remained. The Nexarians' fear of human expansion wasn't entirely unfounded, and humanity's need to grow beyond Earth couldn't be dismissed. Finding a balance would require all the wisdom both groups could muster. As the first council session drew to a close, the Queen approached Josephine privately. "Your people surprise us, Admiral Way. We expected to find barbarians to be tamed. Instead, we find potential companions on the cosmic road." Josephine smiled, thinking of the long journey ahead. "Perhaps that's the greatest wisdom of all, Your Majesty, learning to see beyond our first impressions." They had made progress, but the hardest part was yet to come. Tomorrow, they would need to begin translating this newfound understanding into concrete agreements that both species could accept. The fate of two civilizations hung in the balance, guided by those who had lived long enough to understand the true cost of failure. The third day of negotiations began in what the humans had started calling the luminescence chamber. The bioluminescent walls pulsed with deeper hues today, reflecting the gravity of the discussions ahead. The Eternal Circle and Earth's Elder Council faced each other across a table that seemed to float on light itself. The formality of previous sessions had evolved into something more intimate, but no less crucial. Today, they would begin addressing the core conflicts between their species. "Your colonies expand at an alarming rate," stated Elder Vix, their crystalline form clouded with concern. 17 worlds in 30 Earth years. Each mining operation, each settlement, disrupts delicate cosmic harmonies we have maintained for millennia. Regina Okoro leaned forward, her dark eyes sharp with understanding. "We expand because we must. Earth's resources dwindle, our population grows. But perhaps we've been blind to these harmonies you speak of." The Nexarian Queen gestured, and a three-dimensional map of the galaxy materialized above the table. Streams of energy flowed between star systems like cosmic rivers, forming patterns the humans had never detected. "These are the celestial currents," the Queen explained. "Ancient pathways of energy that connect all living worlds. Your mining techniques, they're like dropping stones into a stream. The ripples disrupt everything downstream." Thomas O'Sullivan's weathered face lit up with realization. "Like Earth's ley lines, but on a galactic scale. We had theories, but nothing concrete." He turned to his fellow humans. "This could explain the anomalies we've been detecting in our outer colonies." Josephine studied the map intently. "If we could learn to work with these currents instead of against them." She paused, choosing her words carefully. "Your Majesty, would your people be willing to share this knowledge?" A murmur ran through the Eternal Circle. Sharing such sacred information with a younger race was unprecedented. But before the Queen could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. The holographic map flickered and changed, showing a human mining operation at the edge of explored space. "It's the Persis colony," Ibrahim reported, reading the data streaming across his tablet. "They've begun deep core extraction despite our orders to wait." The walls of the chamber darkened to a deep purple as the Nexarian elders reacted with dismay. The Queen's form crystallized further, her voice sharp with anger. "You speak of cooperation while your people continue to win the cosmos." Josephine rose slowly, her voice steady despite the crisis. "Your Majesty, give me 1 hour. Let me show you how Earth's elders handle such defiance." The Queen considered for a long moment before nodding. Josephine activated her emergency comlink, and soon the hologram of Colonial Director Harrison appeared. A man in his 40s who practically radiated impatience. "Admiral Way, with all due respect, we can't keep delaying our operation. The colony's survival depends on these resources." "Director," Josephine's voice carried the weight of her 82 years. "You are looking at the trees while we are trying to save the forest. Cease operations immediately." "Or what?" Harrison challenged. "You retired years ago. You can't." "I can't. Josephine agreed, but they can. She gestured to Regina and Ibrahim, who still held their active positions in the Global Space Council. Within minutes, they had transmitted emergency shutdown codes to the Perseus colony's equipment. Harrison's face reddened with anger, but Josephine continued before he could protest. Your equipment will remain locked until you attend a full council hearing. Sometimes, Director, the wisest action is to wait. After Harrison's hologram vanished, a different energy filled the chamber. The Nexarian elders watched the humans with newfound respect. You discipline your own, Elder Vix observed, even at great cost. Wisdom often requires difficult choices, Thomas replied. But if we learn about these celestial currents, we can teach our people a better way. The Queen's form softened, the anger dissolving into contemplation. Perhaps it is time for our peoples to learn from each other. We have preserved knowledge for eons, but you show us that wisdom can exist even in young races. As the day's session concluded, both groups of elders began sketching out plans for a joint council, a permanent body of human and Nexarian elders who would guide both species' expansion among the stars. It would not be easy, but they had found common ground in their shared commitment to preserving the greater harmony of the cosmos. Josephine lingered in the chamber after the others had left, watching the bioluminescent patterns swirl around her. Tomorrow they would begin the real work of melding two civilizations' worth of knowledge and experience. But for now she allowed herself to feel hope that the combined wisdom of humanity's elders and the eternal circle could forge a path forward for both their peoples. A crisis erupted on the 10th day of negotiations. The holographic displays in the luminescence chamber showed chaos unfolding across 3 star systems simultaneously. Rogue human mining ships, refusing to acknowledge the authority of Earth's Elder Council, had begun unauthorized excavations. The celestial currents writhed like wounded serpents on the galactic map. This is exactly why we came to stop you. The Queen's crystalline form had sharpened to dangerous points, her patience finally breaking. Your species cannot be trusted with the cosmos' delicate balance. Ibrahim raised his hands placatingly, but before he could speak, alarms blared again. This time they came from Earth. The disrupted celestial currents had triggered devastating weather patterns across the planet. Storms unlike anything in recorded history were forming over every major city. It's not just Earth, Regina announced, her voice tight with concern. The Nexarian colony worlds are experiencing similar phenomena. The currents connect everything. Damage in one place affects us all, Josephine finished. She turned to the Queen, her expression grave. Your Majesty, we don't have time for blame. Both our peoples are at risk. We need to act together now. The Eternal Circle huddled in rapid consultation, their forms shifting with agitation. Finally, Elder Vix spoke. There is a way, an ancient technique to calm the currents, but it requires both crystalline and organic minds working in harmony, something we've never attempted with another species. Then we'll be the first, Thomas declared, stepping forward despite his age. Better to try and fail than to watch both our worlds suffer. What followed was unprecedented in galactic history. The Nexarian elders arranged themselves in a perfect circle, their crystalline forms resonating with ancient power. The human elders took positions between them, guided by instinct and necessity. The Queen began a haunting harmonic that seemed to vibrate through reality itself. The human elders found themselves joining in, their voices adding organic warmth to the alien song. The chamber's walls pulsed with increasing intensity as the combined consciousness of both species' wisest members reached out to touch the fabric of space itself. Through their merged awareness, They could feel the damaged currents, sense the chaos spreading through the galaxy. Together, they began the delicate work of restoration. Hours passed as they gently nudged the cosmic streams back into alignment, their combined wisdom providing the precision needed for such delicate work. As the final currents settled into their natural patterns, both humans and Nexarians collapsed in exhaustion. But when they looked at the galactic map, they saw the storms subsiding on all affected worlds. They had done what neither species could have accomplished alone. "I understand now," the Queen said softly, her form gentle once more. "We came here believing we needed to control humanity's expansion. Instead, we needed to guide it, to teach, not to restrict." Josephine nodded, her voice hoarse from the harmonic. "And we needed to learn that the cosmos is more interconnected than we ever imagined. Progress without wisdom is just another form of destruction." The crisis had forced both species to move beyond theoretical cooperation into true collaboration. In those desperate hours, they had proved that their differences could become strengths when united by common purpose. As the human elders prepared to return to Earth, they knew their work was far from over. They would need to implement sweeping changes in human expansion policies, establish new protocols that respected the celestial currents, and create education programs to share this new understanding with younger generations. But they had done something even more important. They had shown both species that true wisdom knows no biological bounds. The path forward would not be easy, but they would walk it together, elders of Earth and Nexar, guardians of a greater harmony they were only beginning to understand. 1 year after the crisis, the Joint Council of Cosmic Harmony convened in a newly constructed chamber that floated in Earth's orbit. The circular room combined Earth's organic architecture with Nexarian crystalline technology, symbolizing the unprecedented partnership between the two species. Josephine Wei, now 83, stood before the assembled representatives of both civilizations. The past year had brought remarkable changes. Human mining operations now followed the flow of celestial currents, actually improving their efficiency. Nexarian technology had helped establish sustainable colonies that enhanced, rather than disrupted, the cosmic harmonies. "We gather today to formalize what began in crisis," Josephine announced. "The Galactic Concordat represents more than just a treaty between our peoples. It establishes a new way of existence around the stars." The Queen, her crystalline form now permanently altered by her experiences with humanity, joined Josephine at the center of the chamber. "Through the wisdom of age, we discovered a truth that had eluded both our species. The universe thrives not on dominance, but on harmony." Together, they activated the chamber's holographic systems, displaying the new galactic map. Human colonies and Nexarian territories were no longer separate entities, but interconnected nodes in a vast network of cooperative expansion. The celestial currents flowed stronger than ever, enriched by the conscious collaboration of both species. Regina Okoro, who had spent the year establishing the first joint human-Nexarian mining operation, presented the economic data. "Our combined approach has increased resource yields by 300%, while reducing environmental impact to near zero. We're not just preserving the cosmic harmony, we're enhancing it." Elder Vix, who had become an enthusiastic student of human culture, shared the successful results of the knowledge exchange programs. Young humans were learning to sense the celestial currents, while Nexarian youth gained appreciation for humanity's innovative spirit. The next generation would grow up knowing only cooperation between their species. Ibrahim and Thomas, who had led the diplomatic efforts to bring other human colonies into compliance, reported complete success. The demonstration of power during the crisis, combined with the obvious benefits of the new methods, had convinced even the most resistant colonies to adopt the harmonious approach. As the formal ceremony concluded, Josephine and the Queen stepped onto the observation deck, watching Earth and the massive Nexarian ships now peacefully orbiting it. "Did you ever imagine this outcome when your ships first appeared over our cities?" Josephine asked. The Queen's form sparkled with what had become recognizable as amusement. "We came to prevent a catastrophe. Instead, we found partners in preserving the greatest harmony of all wisdom shared across the stars. The Galactic Concordat was signed that day, but it was more than a mere document. It was a testament to the power of aged wisdom to bridge the gaps between civilizations. The combined council of human and Nexarian elders would continue to guide both species' development, ensuring that progress never came at the cost of cosmic harmony." As the ceremony ended, Josephine looked out at the stars with new eyes. Humanity had not just survived its greatest challenge, it had transcended it. The universe was vast, but with the combined wisdom of two ancient peoples, it felt less lonely. The future stretched out before them, not as a battlefield of competing species, but as a grand collaboration of minds, both young and old, reaching for the stars together. The next morning, as she sipped her tea and watched the Nexarian ships glitter in Earth's orbit, Josephine smiled. Sometimes the greatest adventures came not in youth, but in the golden years, when wisdom finally matched ambition. The universe, it seemed, had been waiting for exactly that combination all along.